call our special meeting to order. And as we get to the roll call of voting members and declaration of quorum, I believe Lydia has an update as it relates to our ex officio members.
I do. So if those of you aren't aware, I am retired from the Board of Education. I did not run this past November after 28 plus years as a sitting member of the Board of Education. So I am no longer on the Board of Education.
Sorry about that.
So I am no longer on the Board of Education. We have installed 2 new members on the Board of Education. But if you have, I would like to remain on the Sustainability Committee as a member at large or community member or what have you. There is no one on the Board of Education that would take my place as a sitting Board of Ed member on the Sustainability Committee at this time. I already queried everybody, and so they are just not interested, or time, or other committees, or what have you. So I will leave that to the purview of you, Jamie, and as chair and the committee. I can give you updates if I remain on if you have me still on the Sustainability Committee, I can give you updates, just from boards of ed from the outside, but that's where that would be.
Well, Lydia, thank you so much for, speaking of having been on the committee for many years, how long has it been for you?
Oh God, it's been 28 years, almost 30 years, including. So yeah. So it's been a little longer than 4 years.
A little longer. Exactly. So, the amount of work that you've done for this committee is enormous over those years. And I know that there is some shifting that will be occurring as terms expire, and I believe sorry, the gentleman's name is escaping me, Baird, who is managing that process, because it goes through the Board of Selectmen, who then appoint.
It goes through the selectmen.
Yeah.
So, and again, just, Holly said the same as she stepped back from the planning role, that she wants to still continue volunteering in some way, shape, or form. So it's great that, the interest is there, and we really appreciate that support.
Absolutely.
So thank you for that. Big news. And then as it relates to our voting members tonight, has Daniela joined?
No. I just texted her to see if she can join, but not
That's
yet.
okay. We do have quorum. So the committee rules are 3 of 5.
Yep.
So we do have a quorum, and we can move forward. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing the agenda, because the next order of business is to vote on our 2026 committee goals. And I'm going to pull up, I sort of just did a very abbreviated version of those. Let me, one second. Okay. Is there anyone that can't see my screen right now?
Here we go. Yeah.
Okay.
Looks good.
So thank you, everyone, for the great discussion last week. And Bear, thank you for starting to shape things up. I took the document you started. I took our pillars of the sustainability plan, part 1, energy, and you'll see where a couple of the drafts kind of come together in this very simplified document. But I do feel like there's a lot that we can attempt to accomplish in 2026, and I want us to be disciplined in not biting off more than we can chew, and then also making sure that what we're doing is going to have, will yield the most impact and results for the community. If at any time people need me to reference materials, whether it's the sustainability plan or working draft or anything, please let me know, and I can try and switch screens. But I figure we can start with an easy one, which is our annual sustainability fair. So I would hope that there is a consensus here, but I'd like us to think about voting first on our third annual sustainability fair as an official goal for 2026. And when we think about using that SMART format, we're basically saying, hey, it's the full scope of the sustainability fair, which covers all aspects of sustainability here in Simsbury. And we can measure success with over 1,000 attendees, as we've had the last couple of years, maybe 25 new signups for people who want us to be communicating with them, at least 3 interactive education stations, and an event recap. We know this is attainable. We have the strong history of successful fairs, and we think that this is very relevant for Simsbury as a community. And the time-oriented, I have May 2nd. If that date is incorrect, please correct me.
No,
And
that's
then,
correct.
I'm sorry?
That's correct.
That's correct. Excellent. And then putting a date for us to have the recap out by June 30th. If that feels too ambitious, we could tweak that. So I'll open this for discussion.
That recap, does it take the form of a newsletter? Like one of the monthly newsletters?
It could be in the newsletter. I don't think we have to be as specific about that in this moment in time. It could also be, we usually discuss it in the meeting the month. So this forum, the month after the event, the library and event folks, and we get together and sort of distill lessons learned. We also speak with some of the vendors that are there to get feedback as well. So.
When you say 25 new signups, I'm assuming you're referring to vendors there?
No, so signups, that's great. We can be clearer here. So can I edit while I'm presenting it? 25 new. So this would be like residents in town who want us to communicate with them. So I'll say signups for communication from.
Oh, I see.
Sustainability.
Danielle, I'm going to let Daniela in.
Excellent, thanks. Hello, Daniela. Do we have your audio?
I'd love to know where she is underground on a train.
I know. Sorry, Daniela, there might be a problem with your audio. I'm going to message you in the chat just in case you can't hear us either. All right. I'm going to keep us moving just in the interest of time. So if there is any further discussion on the sustainability fair goal, any other builds, changes, edits before we vote?
Just out of curiosity, you have 1,000 attendees as one of the success factors.
Correct.
Have we measured or counted in any way, shape, or form the number of attendees for the last 2?
Yes, we
and
have.
If so, how have we done that?
We did.
Great question.
We had 1,000 2 years ago, and we had about 970 last year.
We had over 1,200 2 years ago.
Yeah,
I think, or over 1,100 2 years ago.
And how was that count generated?
The library has clickers on their doors of everybody who passes through, so they're able to count, people coming in.
Okay, so that actually could potentially be an undercount then, since there could be people that just did the outside stuff and didn't go in.
Correct.
Certainly a possibility.
Okay.
Jamie, on the 25 new sign up for communications, for communication from the attendees that came, are we including them? You're sending them emails, or they're getting the newsletter, they're getting everything?
Yeah, so that's how it has been in the past, and we can tweak that as we get closer to the event date. But they've just basically signed up saying, hey, keep us on your communication list. That means they get the newsletter from us. And that means that they would also get any other email communications But typically it's the Sustainability Committee newsletter.
Right. Okay, good.
Mhm.
Keep them in the loop because we may need their help
Exactly.
as we get closer to the date.
Yeah, always a great way to request for volunteers and such. Okay, if no further discussion, then do I have a motion to vote on this goal for the 2026 Sustainability Fair?
Moved.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Right.
Okay. Any opposed or abstaining? I can't see everyone as I'm presenting, so. Okay,
Just so
excellent.
you know, it looks like Danielle dropped off again.
Yeah, she might be having some.
She texted me. She's on a train, is
Oh, no.
underground right now, but
Oh, poor.
she'll surface soon.
Okay. So she's literally underground. You weren't even joking.
Yeah. But we can only do the sustainability fair if Joe promises to do his recycling game again.
It's always the biggest
That's
hit.
right.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's the biggest hit there.
It is.
It is.
It
It
is.
is literally.
There'll be some new wrinkles this year.
Ooh,
Love it.
right.
All right. So we have one official goal for 2026, which I'm very excited about. I'm going to move along. This one, Baird, I don't know if this was exactly as it was on your sheet, but I kind of pulled a little from your sheet, pulled in some of what I had
Here
thrown out
comes
before.
Daniela.
Excellent. Okay. So one of the things that we talked about in our last meeting is, and Daniela, just to catch you up, we did just pass one official goal for 2026 of having our annual sustainability fair, which is great. So the second potential goal for next year, one of the things that has come up is how can we better serve the business community in Simsbury? How can we really improve our economic viability as a community? And at the same time, advance some of our goals for solar energy. And so one of the things that we talked about is outreach in the business community. And I sort of shaped this, again, opening this to discussion, but saying that we can have an informational session and a mini charrette with the business community. So essentially getting businesses and building owners in a room together to talk about how they could potentially lower operating costs through solar using neutral, non-vendor information. So similar to what we did with the Power Smart campaign earlier this year, putting some dates to this. We can change those, of course, but saying by the end of summer, by August 15th, we could collaborate with the Economic Development Commission, our Main Street Partnership, the Chamber of Commerce. We can secure the venue, develop the agenda, create materials, et cetera. Success would be 25 registrants. Maybe that's too ambitious. We would issue a summary report, follow-up inquiries, and signups. This does feel attainable. We have these existing partnerships. We had experience supporting the Power Smart campaign earlier in the year. It's relevant because we are trying to support the business community through cost savings and informing them on solar adoption, batteries, et cetera. And the charrette piece, the mini charrette piece, would really be about gathering those insights to understand what are barriers for them, what are their pain points, what are the concerns that might stop them from adopting solar, or actually what excites them about this. And the time-oriented piece would be having this event before the end of Q3, so by October 31st, and then reporting by the end of the year, by December 31st in 2026. So first, I will open the floor for questions, comments, revisions on this goal before we vote.
So two comments. One, I don't know if the Connecticut Green Bank would be useful to invite for something like this.
Potentially, yep. Also, someone maybe from Deep or
yes.
Pace. Pace could be a great resource here, potentially.
And the second comment is, I think business owners in Simsbury that have already done this would be an excellent group to invite. So not just the ones that haven't, but the ones that have, because I think they can give a really good background on their thought process.
Mhm.
Because
For
I
sure.
was just looking, at satellite view of the town, and I was actually surprised how many large buildings in the town actually already do have solar panels on them. So
Exactly.
the ISCC has them.
Mhm.
The one racket club closer
Yeah,
to
Hot
the town
Meadow.
center has them.
Mhm.
I think the Fitzgerald's strip has some as well. So if we can get 2 or 3 of those owners to come and talk about their experience, I think that would probably be the most useful.
Yep. That's a great build. And this is definitely nothing in here is to say that it is only for folks who've not yet done that. I do think that's where that mini charrette piece is going to be so helpful, because you can actually start to say one person can voice a question or a concern, and someone who's maybe gone down that path already could then add value and say, well, this is my lived experience.
Yeah.
So
And the
think
reason I
it's-
mention it is, depending on how you advertise this, people that have already done it may get the impression that it's not really for them. So I just want to make sure that when we advertise it, we make it clear, or even just specifically reach out to maybe 2 or 3 that have already done this and specifically ask them to come.
Sure. Any other questions, builds, edits before we vote?
That's actually a great idea, Brian, because there's so many new businesses in town. And so, I was just going to even pose, because the chamber is the Granby Simsbury Chamber.
Mhm.
And, why keep a good thing to ourselves? Why not share best practices? So if, we get the chamber involved, I would also include getting some of the, chamber businesses in Granby also. I mean, this can be, across, boundaries and borders, because there are so many businesses in Granby too. Going back to what you had mentioned, Brian, about have done already some, unusual things for their businesses. So why not include them?
Love that build. Daniela, am I missing a comment from you? No. Okay. Sorry. I thought I saw your mic light up. Okay.
And another,
I was just saying that I like that idea.
Okay. Thank you.
another comment, and I don't know if it's something we want to do here. We specifically have this for solar. Do you broaden it to include other topics like geothermal, or that may be muddying the waters a bit?
Yeah,
so.
I would say let's stay very specific here on solar. And then if this proves to be a valuable format and discussion, then we could potentially carry that into 2027 and say, all right, remember what we did on solar? Can we replicate that for HVAC?
Yeah.
Nick.
Yeah, I know I'm the new guy here, but and it may have been discussed previously, but is there any discussion or information that we share or have looked into around plug-in solar, or what's called balcony solar in a lot of places?
Oh, I don't think we have specifically raised that topic yet.
Yeah.
It's
I know
very
it's-
popular in Europe. I don't know that
Yeah.
it's really caught on here yet, but
Yeah, it's the problem is the
It's been
regulators
passed in
here.
Utah, and
Yeah,
it
and there's
is.
bills in
There's
New
actually
York.
some legislation that's been circulated in Connecticut, but it's one of
Okay.
those things where we have to get it passed at the state level. So
Yeah.
working with our state level
Okay.
legislators, we need to push on that one. But I think it's fabulous, and it's
Yeah.
people have called it the gateway drug to solar. That it's really led to an explosion of solar everywhere.
Yeah. I agree. I think it's a great opportunity, especially for people who don't have the capital to cover their roof in solar, or they just have too many trees, as is the case with my home. I don't want to lose all my trees, so I can't have solar, but I can certainly fill my front yard with solar panels where I can't fit a garden. So something like that I think would be more flexible and open opportunities for, I mean, obviously businesses, but residents of all kinds, whether they're homeowners or not, or whether they have a perfect south facing roof or not, etc.
Yep.
That's a great topic,
Great.
because
Excellent.
especially in this area where we are as part of Farmington Valley, that's actually something that would apply to many
Yeah.
homeowners.
But it's more than homeowners. I mean, if it's done right, I mean, I think it was Brian's point, it's big in Europe because a lot of people there, even that rent, are able to put them on balconies, which
Right.
is why it's commonly referred to as balcony solar. And it works just the same whether you're a renter or you're an owner. It doesn't much make a difference.
Yep.
Baird, the legislation you're referring to, is that in terms of, allowing renters
Yep.
to do such a thing, regardless
think-
of what the
I think it's a little
rules may
more
be?
whole. I think it's a little broader than that. It's setting standards for the electrification piece of it and allowing these technologies to interact with the grid in a way that doesn't put line workers at harm if there's an outage type thing, because that's the concern from the utilities perspective, is you would have something generating power that's connected to the grid when it's otherwise down, and someone touching lines that are then powered on by someone's front yard array of solar panels, unbeknownst to them.
It's a real concern.
Yeah, but these panels and these systems that are sold typically come with smart inverters, basically, that sense whether or not there's current coming on the other side, and if the lines are down or power is out. My understanding, based on my very limited knowledge of it, is they stop pushing power to the grid if they sense there's not a signal coming from the other end, to prevent something like that from happening. But I think it's getting the utilities and everyone else on board about the standards and making sure everyone's on the same page, and getting our fine friends at Eversource to be just a little less greedy than they usually are.
Anyway, I think
So I have noted then, if this is something that looks like it's viable or progressed in the legislature, by the time we have this session, let's definitely include it, because I think that that's a fantastic build.
Yeah.
Is there any other discussion before we vote?
Also, include on the invite list state legislators, because that's
Great.
really important to have them come to be part of this.
That's a good point. Yeah. Honig and Osborne.
Okay. Legislators. Excellent. Thank you. All right. So then I think I will move for us to include as a goal in 2026 that we hold a solar informational session in Mini Charette for the business community here in Simsbury. And I will open it up to see if there's a second.
second.
Okay.
Is that Baird?
Yeah,
Yep.
that was Baird. Yes, thanks,
Okay.
Chris. All those in favor? Aye.
All right.
Any nays or abstains? Excellent. Thank you.
All right.
We have our second goal. We are cooking with solar energy, not gas. So to that point, that brings us to the very, and Baird, I sort of collapsed. So let me know if you feel like anything's missing here as I jump into this next piece. The next meaty bit for us that I would propose for consideration tonight is 2026 construction guidelines. So this is basically, as we passed part one of the sustainability plan, part one energy, we actually recognize that there are certain guidelines that we would like to have as a committee, as a community, for buildings, whether they're town buildings, school buildings, commercial buildings, multifamily buildings, et cetera, but they don't yet exist. So I'll give one example. If you're building something new, if you're renovating a building, consider a zero emission HVAC system in that building versus, just defaulting to gas or propane, or natural gas or propane. So these conversations are in infancy stages. So this felt like a really rich opportunity to actually define a work plan and set a goal. So trying to condense it, I drafted here develop and submit guidelines aligned with the 4 energy plan pillars for municipal, school, commercial, and multifamily buildings. Maybe calling that specific might be a little bit of a fudge, but forgive me, or we can get more specific as we talk through this. The measurable piece would be saying, all right, by April 30th, again, arbitrary date, we can discuss that. Research Connecticut regulations and benchmark similar towns. So the idea here is, well, what's already out there? We know, for example, electric vehicle legislation and regulations has now been moved into our zoning regs because it has to be, right? So what's on the horizon in the Connecticut legislature, in legislation and regulations that we should be aware of? Also, are there any towns that have already created a repeatable model where their building commissions and town planners are basically saying, or their engineering departments are basically saying, okay, here's the checklist for any new project. So can we find a couple like towns where we could lift and shift a model that exists maybe? And then phase 2, later, end of early fall, really make sure that we have connected with all of the stakeholders, and that would include everything from Board of Selectmen to the engineering department, to the town planner, to the town builder, and draft the guidelines. So we've researched what's out there. We've seen if there's other models. We've drafted some guidelines after talking to the relevant stakeholders in town. And then phase 3, we go before the board and engage public comment. Maybe the sequence isn't exactly right, and we do have to tweak that. But getting in front of the community, getting in front of the Board of Selectmen, making sure that everyone feels good about these potential guidelines. By the end of the year, finalizing those guidelines and publishing them. Success can be measured by engaging all of the stakeholders as discussed, getting at least 20 members of the public to comment. And this, of course, is relevant because it's actioning against the goals that we just passed with the Board of Selectmen in October. This is probably going to change as we discuss. So I'm going to just open the floor for discussion here.
Well, I'll start in just quickly. I think this is where Nick could be really helpful. We started a conversation, Jamie presented to the Planning Commission on Tuesday, and we've met with zoning also, just to kind of begin to figure out what kinds of language might be acceptable within the town. And it seems like there is a path with lots of steps, but a good path to begin to bring some of the elements of our POCD into the guidelines for building here in Simsbury.
Yeah, I agree. I think, the POCD certainly lays out some of the themes anyway. Specific language, we'll have to get together on that with, I'm sure, a host of people. But yeah, I think thematically, I think there's definitely a push for, this sort of thing. The wordsmithing, I'll leave to folks who are good at that. But, I think it would make sense, and to get it done inside of a year, I think is reasonable. To propose the language, get it finalized, and implement it for, all these municipal buildings, commercial and multifamily buildings, especially as we're sort of in the midst of call it a mini boom of building in town, it seems.
Certainly. Any other questions, comments, any suggested changes?
Just to add quickly, I think this is one of the more important pieces on here, just because, buildings last for 50 years, 70 years. They last for a long time. And if they're burning oil and gas, that's a problem. And if they're, zero emissions and generating their own power, that's a different ballgame.
Well, and this goes back even to what we were just talking about in terms of okay, how can we help business owners in town? How can we help the town itself? How can we help residents in town save money, have sustainability in mind at the beginning of the project in order to also see savings at the end of the project, right? So is this too much for 2026? Should this be broken across 2026 and 2027? Those timings that I put under measurable, does that feel overwhelming?
I don't think so.
I think it's doable. I think it's how we communicate it. I mean, we can, if you're go back up on your screen, Jamie, a minute.
Yep.
But if we're doing the charrette, that's going to take a lot of planning.
Mhm.
And we
Yes.
want people to be excited and participatory in that, because that's going to include a number of things. Go
Yes.
back down your screen a minute. And then with the next section, you could even bring some of that into it, about and under the energy plan pillars.
Mhm.
I think that if
They are very interconnected, yes.
if it's communicated well to the community, it gives them, and you can't over communicate this. So I think if we start communicating, on the basics with the charrette, but then continue on, I think it gives the community something to say, oh, wow, there's more, or there's part B in this, because it could be moving into a 26-27 piece, but I'm for one, give them all the information, give them more until they tell you stop. But I think it's the more you give this community, the more that they will hopefully understand or be better educated, if they do want to purchase any things or sign up for anything or have further questions and things. And who are they going to go to?
Would we maybe then extend? So we talk about phase one, we're researching, what's happening in Connecticut, essentially, whether it's regulatory or best practices that we can leverage. And then phase two, we're engaging everyone from, planning and zoning and engineering all the way to the community themselves and the Board of Selectmen, with phase three being a more official review phase. Public comment again then maybe moves into phase two, and Board of Selectmen review is still phase three. Maybe phase four moves into 2027. If I'm hearing that.
Because I'll tell you, you will have a lot of questions from various other committees.
That is 100%.
In particular, Board of Selectmen,
Okay.
who will have a lot of the questions and may want to spend some time reviewing also guidelines and drafts and things. But it doesn't hurt to start it. It doesn't hurt to start as soon as we feel we can. I mean,
I swear I can type. Solidified in 2027 goal planning. All right, so maybe this feels a little bit more manageable. So kind of broke that apart, added a second round of public comment that's now in phase two. And then phase three, getting that additional public comment. And then phase four becomes the finalization and publishing of this.
Jamie, I just want to make sure I understand these guidelines. Would these reside within official town guidelines someplace, or are we just simply talking about our committee recommendations to the town on these topics?
It's a great question, Brian. So some of it, right? So, for example, again, I go back to electric vehicles, like that became a part of zoning regulations here in town because it's a Connecticut law. So as we see some things might be coming on the horizon, we'll see that actually become a very official, like there is no debate, it's this. In other cases, more often what we're going to be seeing is whether it's part of design review or part of upfront conversations with developers, or internal conversations in our school system and in our town buildings. it just essentially, I'm going to say checklist for the sake of oversimplifying, but essentially like, okay, what is it that we're really looking to do here? You know what? If we're planting plants, they should ideally be native. If we are installing, and again, I go back to this because it's a very concrete example that's in our plan. If we're installing HVAC, let's look at a zero emission system. So it's not anything that is going to be mandated most likely, and it's probably going to show up in many different parts of our day-to-day operations as a town, it makes it a bit of a beast for that reason. The stakeholder piece is going to be so critical, but I don't think it will ever be, there won't be a grand pronouncement or, it won't be like, for example, in New York City where certain new construction, it mandated electric cooktops, right? Like it's not going to be that. But it is going to be, hey, have you considered X, Y, and Z in most cases?
Okay.
Any
And
other?
before we vote on this, maybe this is something we should have done at the beginning. How many items do you have on your list? Because I would hate to vote on 3 or 4 things and then find out we still got another 3 or 4 on the list.
Yeah, no, so and they should have been numbered. Apologies as I didn't number them. That's my fault. So we have heat pump education in the January newsletter, evaluating the municipal fleet, including school vehicles to electric, and then school recycling expansion. So continuing what we were already doing, which ties into business recycling and food waste, which is also part of our part 2 of our sustainability plan, part 1 having been energy, part 2 being waste. So we can table this piece, but the construction guidelines.
I wouldn't table it. I think I mean, listen, at least maybe not everyone feels comfortable. I think we should. I think we should push it forward.
All right. So Baird moves for us to vote on.
I would move for a vote. I think it's doable. I think it's highly important, and it's a process that we've started already. And with Nick's help, I think and guidance, we can move forward.
Yeah, and I mean, just to add, I think if it's not going to end up being a mandate, I mean, I think that makes it all the I want to say easier, but I mean, if it's merely going to be guidance that's going to be out there, I mean, I don't want to speak for all the people that need to bless this, but I mean, it seems very doable to me. If it's not going to be a requirement, it's merely going to be guidance that we're sort of passing along based on, I'm sure, science that exists elsewhere and, experience others have had. I mean, that seems pretty slam dunk type material to me.
Excellent. All right, so I second Baird's motion for us to vote on the 2026 construction guidelines, the energy plan pillars as our 3rd goal for 2026. This has now been extended to have phases 1 through 3 in 2026 with phase 4 moving into 2027. All those in favor? Aye.
Right.
Okay. So anyone opposed? Any abstentions?
Who was second? Was that you, Jamie?
I seconded the motion, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, excellent. Oops, sorry, my screen's jumping a bit here. So
Jamie, can you just lay this one out because I think it'll be really quick.
Yeah, go.
Okay, so I had Mark is our resident expert on Mark Scully is our resident expert on heat pumps, and so he's taken the responsibility of putting together an issue on heat pumps. How they work, potential savings, basically everything and more that you would want to know about heat pumps and putting them in your house or business.
This is a sandbag, is what you're telling us. We can sandbag some 2026 goals here. Yeah, so this one feels pretty straightforward.
Just quickly on that, did we plan on including like heat pump hot water heaters along with this, or is this meant to just cover like HVAC heating and cooling heat pumps?
I don't know. I can ask. I think
Okay.
it's just air and ground heat pump.
Okay.
I'm not sure whether he's discussed hot water heater. I don't know. I will
Yeah.
ask.
Okay.
Thank
Yeah.
you. For the question.
Yeah. I mean, I only asked because I recently put one in maybe 6 months ago, and I couldn't be happier with it. It replaced the ancient oil-fed one that I'm sure wasn't doing anyone much good.
Yeah,
Well,
it's a good point. I think, you know, to the point I think Barrett, you made earlier, you know, or somebody made with the balcony solar panels, the
Also, Nick.
hybrid hot water heater, I think, is a much easier entry point
mhm.
into
Yeah.
heat pumps for people
Well,
compared
it's
to
certainly
say
a
a
lot less
full,
expensive.
you know, air
Yeah.
source, or, you know, because, you know, these things
Yeah.
need to be replaced more frequently than HVAC systems do. So,
Yep.
So
Excellent, Bill,
one of the
guys.
things I discussed with Mark when we were discussing this issue was we wanted to interview a couple town residents who had experience in this. So Brian and Nick, if you would be willing to be
Sure. Yeah, of
guinea
course.
pigs for that experience, that would be awesome.
mhm.
Well, I'll tell
Okay.
you, my heat pump experience was a lot more favorable than my hot water heater experience than my HVAC version. Working with the Connecticut whatever it's called, the Connecticut board that handles the rebates was an absolute nightmare. So
Yeah.
you know,
Excellent. All right, then I move for us to adopt heat pump education via the January newsletter as our fourth goal for 2026. And I am going to include Mark Scully as the author of this in the goal. Do I have a second?
Second.
Excellent. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Anyone opposing or abstaining? Excellent. All right. And that one feels easy to achieve as it is.
Slam dunk.
Yes. All right. I'm going to move us very deliberately to the waste-oriented ones because they're relevant to part 2 of the sustainability plan, which is coming. So school recycling expansion. Bear, do you want to talk us through this? I did super simplify it here, so apologies if I've left out too much detail and I can add it back in. But
And there's really not a lot for us to discuss other than we play a very, kind of supporting role here. But, basically as of last year, a year and a half ago, there was very little recycling taking place in our schools. And we started a pretty strong recycling program at the high school. And this year, with the support from the district, and a grant that I helped to write over the summer, we got materials to recycle in all the schools. So that's being rolled out right now. I have a capstone senior who made a video. She's working with Jen Wymuth on doing an education program. So I think by this week, next week, basically we will have carton recycling in every cafeteria and some recycling education in all elementary schools. We haven't really figured out Henry James yet, but basically we'll have the high schools and the elementary schools nailed down as starting places, and that was really our goal. So that's kind of where we are.
excellent. Did you want to?
I think they should recycle in the school. So I support this motion that we recycle in our schools.
I second that motion, Baird.
Oh, thank you, Lydia.
Yes, absolutely. That is so important, and even in our new school that's going to be coming online. So this is a real important piece.
Yep.
Excellent. All right.
So
So,
just
go, Brian.
sorry, just 2 comments. You know, we may want to think a little bit more about the measurable piece in terms of trying to be a little bit more specific. I understand it can be difficult since we're just playing a supporting role. But one thing that could be included there, Baird, was it you that or Mark that did the tour of the recycling center?
Yeah, Joe and I did that.
Okay, yeah, it was the two of you.
Well,
Is there any way to incorporate that as a deliverable either for, a certain segment of the high school population, like if there's a club there, that's involved in sustainability, if they want to tour that, or
Yep.
or just to set up another one for town residents?
Yeah. I mean, Joe can speak to this, but I think they would be very, USA Waste is very eager to show off their facility. So I think we can do that. And just in terms of measurable, and I invite anyone to join, since I teach at the high school last year with the environmental club, we gathered all of the trash from the high school for one day, and then we laid it out on the driveway, and we looked at how much recyclable material was in the trash. We're going to do that again this spring, and anybody who would like to dumpster dive with me on a Saturday, please feel free to come and dumpster dive with me.
Yeah, and we did attempt to audit the waste stream at one of the elementary schools. Is a little bit more challenging given the nature of the beast, but I think it's a great incentive for us to pick that back up as well at the elementary level.
You've come a long way with that, Jamie, and with especially with Squadron, with the elementary schools, from where there was nothing. I know
not even a recycling bin. Yeah,
right, where there was just a small, blue bucket recycling. But you've come a long way with that by pushing that with Squadron Line. So, but we're getting there. We will get there. It takes time with education. It just takes a little time to get to where we want to be. But
there's a lot going on.
There is.
Okay. Any other discussion on this topic? Do I have a motion to include school recycling expansion as an official goal for 2026?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Excellent. And then do I have any, so all those in favor, I should say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any nays or abstentions? Excellent. And that brings us to similar, but in businesses. Now this one is going to be a bit more, and this is where I start to really ask us to hold ourselves accountable for how much we can accomplish in 2026, because we've set some very aggressive goals. Not saying this is less important by any means, but as we think about business recycling and food waste assessment, so, keeping food out of the waste stream, how are we, encouraging businesses to recycle in the community? This is similar to what we talked about with the solar initiative, where we could probably benefit with a roundtable, informational roundtable and or mini charrette, similar to solar. I do think there is a limit to what we can accomplish. So I'd love for us to discuss this, and then we can put it to vote for 2026. We could also potentially say, is this something that lives within any of the initiatives we already outlined? I don't, and it probably doesn't. So I'm thinking out loud and I'm saying it probably doesn't. So,
well, there is that
go, Joe.
Commercial organics recycling law that I think is in effect now, that does.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's slots in here somehow.
You talking about the farm on over by the airport, Joe? The Thrive Farm?
No, Here, I'll look it up. It's a,
The
commercial
bins.
organics, it's a recycling, it's a law. Any business with, that deals with a certain amount of food has to,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Oh, that was what the CET had been helping us with. Like it was like over 500 to my head, something about 500 tons of.
Well, just looking that up, I was just going to comment the farm transfer that happened, the old town farm that's now a recycling facility of sorts. One of their components is food waste handling. That's not the right word for it. Composting. So maybe we look at plugging into that and leveraging whatever they can share. In connecting them, I mean, I'm sure they are, but maybe connecting them with more businesses than they are already, to try to wrap that all together.
I'm putting the link in the chat for that law.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
Commercial composting law. Thank you.
Is it just Greenwich or is it West Hartford also?
It's a state law, but I think that particular article came from
Yeah,
Greenwich.
that's
Yeah.
It's state law, but
it looks like
it only applies
Yeah.
to larger facilities. So like McLean
26
might
26
be
tons or
large
more.
enough.
Yeah.
It's questionable whether the school system, we have enough students in the school to actually fit in that, or whether we just we sneak under it with the amount of students we have.
Yeah, I remembered we had done some back of envelope and we thought Squadron might get close, but not quite there.
Yep.
The high school has the gravity of students, but they don't eat as much in the school as the
Yep.
elementary school or something along those lines, right, Baird?
Yep.
I don't know of any school system in the state that does this, that does food waste composting.
Well,
Oh, there's a few.
yeah, I mean, like Westminster School does it.
Right,
Yeah.
but private, but I don't, for public schools though,
Yeah.
I don't know of any districts that do this.
Well, the state law is only being rolled out this July.
It just got rolled out or is getting rolled.
It will be rolled out July 2026.
Perfect. Which means that it'll take another X amount of time for the district. Well, they have to comply, but
Yeah, and I think that they're developing the school composting manual and a website. And actually, I know Glastonbury has started doing this, so I have, and I don't know, Baird, if we have any connections there, or Lydia, if you have connections there even. But I think Glastonbury has started working with Blue Earth, and I know that they're expanding the program to Gideon Wells, so a couple of their elementary schools. They started at one of the smaller elementary schools, and they're expanding it to one of the larger ones. I think this school year should be the expansion year. So,
because their population's about the same as ours, school population, so
or even maybe a little bigger. Yeah,
I think it's fantastic. I think that's wonderful.
So, Jamie, just on this, I think it may make sense. I think this is really important. But I think it may make sense to hold this off to beginning of 2027, once the composting law in the state has
sort of
taken
settled,
and people understand it a little bit. And the state has figured out what it's going to do. I think it may be a little bit premature to do it before that law takes effect.
Should we then maybe say that what we will do is in Q4 of 2026, maybe start gathering some information on like the actual rollout of the law, and some towns like Glastonbury and I think maybe Pomfret, but looking at a couple. So just go into early information gathering in Q4 of 26, or push everything to 27.
No, I think information gathering this year would be great. And looking at what happens in 2026, figuring out whether we need to comply, which businesses in town need to comply, figure out how that goes for them. So I think there's a lot to study.
So if it's just more information gathering, do we want to make this a formal goal?
It's easy to not do it if it's not a goal. But what is it? What gets measured? What's that expression?
Isn't measured, isn't accomplished.
Very something along those lines, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So does that under specific any builds questions? Because I'm sort of rewriting this on the fly. But any questions or builds on this piece here?
Jamie, would you mind hitting the Zoom button a couple times just to make it a little bit
Sure.
bigger
Sorry,
for
we
us?
are,
The bottom right corner,
yeah, no, it's just gonna,
or there too.
how's that?
Better, thank you.
Great. Good.
So any edits to the specific piece? And then we'll move into measurable. Okay. So then under measurable, this is now potentially identify two similar communities already composting in schools and probably engage CET and DEEP to understand rollout of law. Any other edits, suggestions? This is okay. And then,
So, sorry,
Yeah.
go up just a little bit, please.
go.
Well, one of the challenges with the waste is, for the whole town is getting accurate statistics, in regards to tonnage. So,
Well,
That's
maybe
a
we all
challenge
have.
here in Simsbury, you're saying, Joe?
yeah.
Well, we only have one trash contractor. We don't have any options anymore. So one would imagine that USA Waste could figure that out for us.
Mm.
It's not
So-
that easy.
No, I don't know. I mean,
So say more about this, Joe. So one thing that you're saying we need to gather information on is just understanding where we're at currently, right? With waste.
I mean, I think Chris knows. I think, we only get stats for tonnage from the transfer station. We don't get stats for residential, currently.
right.
And to be fair, right now we're talking business. This would live under business. So schools. So I'm actually going to say including school.
Maybe just say
Yeah,
business and institutions.
Sure. I just want to be sure though that we are.
Yeah, I think the only tonnage reports we get are from the transfer station.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna get reports from USA Waste.
Yeah.
It
So
would
if
have
that,
to be at their generosity.
Identify source.
Well, but I'm not familiar with the rule, but is it baked into the law that it's something they have to do? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
All right.
It seems that's the only mechanism you could hold someone accountable for it is if you had the accountability on the back end. But I mean, I'd have to read the rule. I'm just learning of it now.
but I think it's kind of always been like that. Just a challenge, just to consider. So
Yeah.
I mean, I know there are ways that, like at the moment, that they're just sort of extrapolating and saying, well, if your population at this residential community or school is X, then
Yeah.
your output of waste is Y. But it's a good question, because then as the law is being rolled out, how are they measuring it in order to enforce it?
Yeah.
Okay. So I
So,
added, yeah, go.
Jamie, I guess at a higher level, what's the purpose of this goal? Like, is the goal to eventually, be able to hold information sessions with town
Yes,
businesses and institutions on
exactly.
this
So
particular
what
law?
we're doing, again, using the solar informational session and mini charrette as an example, we would do the
Okay.
same for business waste in 2027, most likely. But also, we do need to be able to help support our school system, because there are some, depending on our population growth, depending on eating patterns at the schools, we are very close to that threshold potentially, at least in squadron line, and we need to be ahead of any impacts from the upcoming legislation.
Yeah. So the discussion so far has been on food waste, but the title of this particular goal includes recycling. So is the
Well,
intent still to include, or
so
do you want to focus
organics
just on food?
recycling is a thing. It's not just recycling like a plastic bottle, but it's also saying, okay, you can divert the waste, and you can
Just may want to think, I mean, I know this is an internal goal, but when people see recycling and food waste, I think they naturally think like plastics and metal and paper recycling, and then food waste. I think of it as two separate things. So,
and there was originally more to this. Yes. So there is both of those things. We can just
a thought on the
business and institute. So how would you phrase it?
Well, again, we may not need to change it because this is more internal. Just thought I'd raise the point.
Say organics. So, do I have a motion to vote on gathering this information in Q4 of 2026?
Sorry, just before I vote, what were the rest of if you scroll down the ART sections, there we go. Okay. Yeah, I'm good with this. I'll motion.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Excellent. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed or abstaining? All right. And that has passed. And I think the only thing we didn't come to yet was municipal fleet electric vehicle transition timeline, which I will open to discussion if there's anyone that feels passionate about this remaining in 2026.
This is a big project.
Yeah. Wow.
I would say the most we should hope or shoot for, maybe not hope for, but shoot for, would be to understand whether we could even do it and what it would take to do it.
I think even that is a lofty
Yeah.
piece of
Are
work.
we talking about like plow trucks and utility trucks? Or are we talking about like, I don't know what town staff we have that drive vehicles? I mean, are there people driving around, and are we talking about like police fleet, or what are we talking about?
So essentially any and all of the above. Also, I would imagine, and Baird, this came from your draft, so correct me if I have this wrong, but when we're saying municipal, would that also include school buses, or is that a separate?
That's a
piece?
separate, yeah, because the district purchases buses. It owns the buses, but
Right.
And there's a 2030 state mandate on zero emission buses, which we'll have to see whether there's money available for
To help communities
Yeah.
achieve that. That's correct.
So we'll let Board of Ed take that one.
There you go.
But
There you go, Chris.
Thanks.
but I agree with Chris. I think what we can begin to do is kind of like our last one, just gather information on this. Like what would it take? How often do different departments renew their vehicles?
So maybe it's actually gathering information on the fleet.
Yeah, Chris, what else would you see as kind of preparatory for this?
Well, I see it as like a feasibility study. And I think there's the infrastructure. So there's the vehicles. There's the cost of the vehicles. There's the cost and infrastructure to support those vehicles. Cause like we have a whole shop here with 4 guys and 6 bays that just work on vehicles all day long. So we'd have to turn into EV experts. So there's a lot there, training, tools, all that stuff. And then I think the real big thing, at least what I keep overhearing, is the juice to get these things charged every night and the equipment to do that. All the chargers, the line coming in, you're talking about a massive amount of electricity that they'd have to rewire entire, streets and things like that to support.
Well, I mean, at this point, there's no one manufacturing something that replaces an F-550 plow truck. So, I mean, you're talking about at the most police cruisers and sedans and SUVs. So, I mean, I think even if you were to count up all of those that we have, I don't know that we need to rewire streets. But I mean,
so that's part of the feasibility study is to decide what vehicles based on that research.
Yeah.
Right. And it would, to your point, it'd be a phased in approach.
Yeah. I mean, and we buy vehicles every year. I know I just saw the approval we buy a new dump truck every year at almost $300,000. I'm sure there's other vehicles that don't make that, that capital list, but, I think we could look at what gets replaced every year and have a strong consideration given to swap whatever that is for an EV instead, understanding that there'll be new costs borne by, the shop, the infrastructure, et cetera, in an effort to push, the fleet a little cleaner.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and long-term savings that go with it in terms of less cost for fueling and
maintenance, et cetera. Yeah.
EVs are much less maintenance than.
Good point. Does this even achieve the higher level goal?
Yeah, internal combustion.
Whatever those goals are.
Yeah, I mean,
green energy, cost savings, et cetera.
But this definitely sounds more like an advisory type goal. And recognizing there's only a subset of town vehicles that it makes sense or that you even could get an EV for. But as long as you've got the charging capacity, then I think the maintenance is actually going to be drastically reduced compared to current.
Well, and that would be something that would be, evaluated and or proven or.
I think that's well understood for your standard, sedan, pickup truck type vehicles. The maintenance costs are significantly reduced compared to internal combustion engine vehicles.
Well, and there's other municipalities that have done this. I mean, we won't be recreating the wheel here. I'm sure there's places we could learn from.
This is not new stuff,
and that can be all part of the study. As someone just goes and does that benchmarking and
and the long-term operating costs are lower.
Yeah.
So yes, there's the higher initial purchase price, but the cost of ownership over the long run is lower.
Yeah. Jamie, I'm sorry, I need to leave. Are we voting on this, or are we just saying that this is something that we're gonna?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure what has my dog overreacting at the moment. Apparently, she'd like to vote. So, are we saying this is 2026, or are we saying this is 2027? Because this is not a light lift.
Well, I move that Chris does this all in 2026.
Yeah, this could be my full-time job. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm down with that.
It'd be your thesis.
I mean,
Sorry, guys. I know.
is this
Philip?
something the town does automatically? Like when a new vehicle comes up or time comes to replace a town vehicle, is this part of the procedure to look at the options and come up with the best option for the town?
Well, I think from a high level, yes. Specific to EVs, probably not. You know, they're always looking at what's the right vehicle for the job we're about to do. Are there new options out there? Things like that. But the EV thing, like we have no infrastructure right now to even have a single or a couple of EV vehicles.
Right. Because this is and that's where it gets into the charging, the maintenance, the associated training tools.
So it's hard to just, because, you know, as Nick pointed out, we don't buy vehicles in batches. We buy them one at a time as needed.
Yeah.
So at some point we'd have to decide, okay, here, effective now, we're going to start making this transition.
Yeah.
So we don't have any infrastructure for this now.
And, you know, I'm sure there's got to be state grant. I don't know, maybe not, you know, other state grants that can support towns, you know, putting in chargers, that sort of thing.
Exactly. So one of the measurable objectives here would be to explore grant pathways.
Yeah. And put all those numbers together and see if this makes sense.
It seems like you almost have to break the ice. You know, once you have your infrastructure in place to do it for the first one, then the rest just kind of follow naturally. So how do you break that ice?
And the same goes for the school bus fleet. We don't have any EV buses, and we don't. Salters Express over there in West Street, you know, they run the department for the school buses, but we don't have any EV buses. We don't even have any infrastructure for them yet. I mean, we're still a way off. You know, Jim Salter can better explain everything about that, but we just don't have that like the town.
So does Salter, do they store all the buses on their facilities?
Yes.
So before we get, I just want to keep us on task here.
Yes, absolutely.
I understand.
We can talk offline, Brian. Yeah.
Good builds. We can definitely get back to that. I know we're going to lose Baird in a moment.
I think we already lost him actually, so I don't know if we can vote on this one.
Okay. Well, then by default, it is not a 2026 goal. We are done.
Yeah. I think this is important. So, you know, if the town decides they want to maybe go down this route, then, you know, by all means, let the committee know, and
they know where to find us.
We'll support any way we can.
Right.
Okay. Well, thank you all for your time. I feel great about what we have aligned to for 2026. I think it's going to keep everyone busy for sure. And we will see each other in January.
Actually, Chris, we do still have Daniela on the line. I don't know if she's able to contribute or not. So we do technically still have a quorum, but.
Great. Okay. So are you
No, she's gone. Oh yeah, she's here. Yep.
Okay. Are you moving that we vote on the electric vehicle municipal fleet transition timeline for 2026? Brian, is that a movement? Are you moving that?
I was just pointing out that we do technically still have a quorum, but I don't know. I think we need.
We have a quorum. You are correct.
It's very much an advisory goal, so I would almost kind of defer to the town on this one.
Well, the town's not a voting member, so are you motioning?
Well, I mean, in terms of, you know, is this even on their radar screen?
We can work on this, I think, without voting to make it a goal.
Right.
Great.
Okay.
I just, you know,
if this isn't even on the radar screen, then I see no point in voting on this right now.
It's talked about, but it's quickly shot down due to the infrastructure and cost.
Okay.
There's that B word called budget.
Right. And so this is, I mean, to be fair, this is part of the 4 pillars that were passed in our energy plan. So in the sustainability plan, part 1, energy, it does include exactly this, like getting the feasibility evaluated of an electric fleet. That being said, the question here today is if there is a motion for this to become a 2026 goal for this committee to begin this work in front of us.
I have one question first. What's the bigger fleet, the school bus fleet or the town fleet?
Define bigger. Number of
Yeah.
buses, outputs of greenhouse gas.
Miles driven.
Oh, I would say school bus.
Probably the school bus.
School bus. I
They do the
can't
three
give you the
circuits.
exact number per day of school
They
buses.
lap the town 4 times a day.
Right.
And that's kind of what I thought. So my suggestion is if we're going to have a goal, I would rather it focus more on supporting the school bus transition. Because I think you get a bigger bang for the buck on that one.
Especially with legal mandate on that one by 2030. I mean, it's not that far away.
And although they're not all exactly the same vehicle, it's all the same platform, and you could just keep repeating it.
Yeah.
And you've got one organization, and
Yeah.
So are you motioning that we evaluate the school bus fleet electric vehicle transition timeline?
Did Barron say it was 2030 that mandate came through?
That's what he said, yeah.
All right, so my suggestion for 2026 would to keep this kind of more informal.
Define that then. What would be the specific goal?
When I say informal, I mean not vote on a goal specifically for it.
Okay.
But
great.
keep it on the back burner and bring it up from time to time just to see what's going on.
I would also recommend, while this is fresh in our minds right now, but to have Jim Salter come on as a guest for one meeting and talk about this. He loves talking about this. Anything and all thing yellow school buses. And he's a 3rd generation Salter, transportation company. So he might be able to, give us some information about what's coming down the pike with everything. So
that sounds great, Lydia. If you
I could ask him to have him come to a meeting and have a conversation with us, just so that for the benefit of the committee to understand where we are with this.
Because if it is a state mandated 2030 goal, I'm sure they're working on it.
Right. And he could give us a little bit more defining information.
Great. So then what I'm going to say is the specific goal is what is his first name?
Jim Salter. I could always contact him and have him come to a meeting.
Present at a sustainability committee meeting in 1H 2026 to understand what efforts they are taking related to the state 2030 EV transition mandate. Measurable, Mr. Salter presents at meeting. There we go. And this will be by June. So June meeting. Does that work?
I motion to approve.
Okay, well, all those in favor?
Who's seconding?
Oh, I will second.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All those in favor? Aye. Danielle, is that an aye from you as well? Excellent. Any opposed? No. Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate the time today, folks.
For over 40 years, SCM has been the voice of our town,
bringing us together through local programming,
education, and live broadcasts.
SCM isn't just about television.
It's about empowering our community,
ensuring our voices are heard during government meetings,
and celebrating milestones
like our high school graduations.
But today, SCM faces a challenge.
Our funding structure is based on television subscriptions.
And it's no secret, people have been cutting the cord.
With a shift to internet-only subscriptions,
SCM receives less revenue,
even though all our programming is freely available online.
We need your support.
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 Your donation can make a difference.
It will ensure that SCM remains open,
continues to educate our youth,
and keeps our community informed.
Thanks to SCM, I've been honing my creative skills,
helping me work towards my college degree.
SCM is crucial for keeping our community connected.
SCM isn't just here to broadcast local events. They're actually preserving Simsbury's history.
Join us.
Join us in preserving Simsbury's voice.
Simsbury's voice.
Together we can ensure that SCM continues to thrive
For generations to come.
Visit our website
Or scan the QR code on your screen to make your donation.
Every contribution
Counts.
Thank you for supporting Simsbury Community Media.
where your town
Your schools
and your government come together.